All right, I'm having a Jimmy Neutron brain blast right now, so you're gonna bear witness to all my new insights as I have them. But Pirro's hog. Okay, there's this story. There's this philosopher Pirro, and one day he's on this voyage. He's at sea, and on this boat, right, he has a hog like a pig, right, and there's all these sailors, and there's a storm, and all the sailors are worried, right? They think that they're going to die at sea, they're going to drown, right? And the hog is just chilling, right? He has not a care in the world. He doesn't even know that he could be dying pretty soon, right? And so Pirro, being the captain, I think he's the captain in this story. I might be wrong. He looks at the hog and he tells all of his sailors, like, look, be like the hog, right? Isn't it a shame that nature gives us all this extra reasoning capacity and it results in us being more miserable than beings who have less reasoning capacity? Isn't that a shame? Shouldn't we all aspire to be more like the hog, right? Who has not a care in the world, right? And it got me thinking, right? We shouldn't be having these reactions, especially given how intelligent we are, right? And reasoning, we have to assume that reasoning is at some level tied to intelligence, right? And now the way that we can like measure how reasonable that you are, how big of a smile do you have on your face, right? The more like when you are smiling, you feel as if you are being reasonable. That is why you smile. When you laugh, you are overwhelmed with a sense of reason, right? A comedian and a philosopher essentially are doing the same thing. Like they have the same job. They want to communicate. They want their consumer to elevate in their reasoning, right? And so you get these little insights that are funny. Haha. Oh, wow. I never thought about that, right? But when you are reasonable, you have a smile. And then you'll notice most of the time you are not reasonable. And it got me thinking, why is that? Why is it with all of these, like this extra reasoning capacity, that most of the time we aren't miserable? It's because we learned far more effectively, or maybe the other animals just never learned it at all, right? But we learned that we can arouse the leader around us by having certain emotions, right? Because we are social animals. And when we are children and also very formative, our minds are very plastic, right? There's no other way for us to get our needs met besides having these emotions, right? And it gets the leaders, it gets the people who have control to take charge and to fix the problem, right? We learn one way or another that when we're worried and we're in front of our dad and our mom, right, it makes them feel the need to get their shit together and act a little bit more diligent so that they can solve the problem, right? We learn that when we get mad, oh, somehow, right, now all of a sudden our standards are being met. And then we might discover down the road that our relationships are being destroyed in the process. But right. But you learn these things as a result of having so much reason. And the issue is that most of the time, like as an adult, you're just living for your fucking self. There is no leader that you can arouse, that you can signal with, basic, what would you say? Like most of communication, about 80% of communication is just body language, right? Like how your face is expressed. You can read somebody's emotions by their face, right? Most of that communication, right, is geared towards us surviving and spreading on our genes, right? So would it be unreasonable to say that we evolved the ability to arouse and communicate our needs to people who have the ability to fulfill them, right? Especially people who have a desire to fulfill them, right? Like, would it be unreasonable to suggest that that might just be how we're wired, right? That might be the reason why we get upset when there's so much traffic on our way to work, right? We have these expectations of how the universe should be. And so we get sad when this happens, or we get, whatever else emotion when this happens. But most of the time, for whatever reason, we're not happy. Or we can go ahead and scratch that word out. We're not reasonable. We don't feel reasonable, right? And we don't take the time to even run that filter through our mind to say, am I being reasonable? That's not a question that we ask. We just assume that whatever we feel is correct and that person should be treating us that way. How dare they look at us that way and not? Well, maybe we were looking at them a certain way. Maybe the way we were dressed told them that we were this kind of individual and we had no use to them. And maybe that's not their fault. Maybe that's just how things are. Maybe when you don't have use for people, people don't talk to you, right? Or vice versa. But yeah, that's my line of thinking right now. And it felt so significant that I decided to take out this camera and record all of that because I cannot imagine that I'm going to have all that soak in on the first sitting. I feel like I'm going to need to go back and really pick through all of the bits. And you get to do that with me. So yeah, hopefully you got something good out of this. Hopefully I gave you something to think about. I am certainly thinking about quite a bit at this moment. So I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.